and everything is being recorded.
Let's lay a little bit of the groundwork here.
Okay.
Where do you fit into this case? What interested you in it? Did you know Shawna before? Had you worked at the border?
Well, I've done a little bit of Minuteman work, not a lot. I worked with Texas Minutemen for a short period of time. I worked a little bit at the Campo area. And, of course, I did patrolling with Chris Cox before he became, Mr. Big Shot or whatever. Well, so
you mean before he clearly showed he was a rat?
Yes.
No holds barred, all right?
Yes, you'll find no disagreement from me there. And the fact of the matter is that I had corresponded with Shawna a little bit earlier this year, and we had talked on the phone a few times. We talked after she was shot in the arm in the alley in Everett, and I put up something on the BorderGuardians.org website supporting her. And
so you knew her then?
Let me put it to you this way. I would say I was acquainted with her. Now I can say I know her better than I did then. I was acquainted with her because I think it's fairly typical for people in our movement that we email back and forth with people. We might talk on the phone, and if we meet in person, it's like, wow, it's a big deal. Typically, we more likely meet people who are active in our own area. So that was the extent of how I knew Shawna Forde. And then when I heard that she had been arrested for a double murder, I was like, eek! And pretty much everybody I know was going, oh, ugh! It's like, oh, did I know her? Did I speak to her? Are they going to come and get me? It's like, I think everybody thought that. And it took me about 3 or 4 weeks to start coming around. And as I continued to read the media, and everything was negative, trashing her, bringing up her past, regurgitating all sorts of crap, I started to think, there's something wrong with this. When Clarence Dupnick stood up and he said, she's a psychopath, I thought, now how in the hell does he know that? Is he a psychiatrist? Has she been given a psychiatric examination? And then there was, when Clarence Dupnick said this on TV, and he did the press conference of when she was arrested, and there was this one long, pregnant pause where he was collecting his thoughts, and I kept watching that, and I said, here comes the big lie. And it came, that she masterminded this double murder, and I thought, whoa, this is crazy. I didn't know Shawna very well then, but I thought, I got to write to her, and I've got to visit her. I've got to find out what's going on. So that's how I started on this. This is not my website. It's the website that is the product of a committee of 4 people right now, and we have more people wanting to join and wanting to help as the word gets out.
Okay, so you didn't think, with what, after this case came out, you didn't think any of her past arrests or associations, ironically, with some of the very same things, which anyone can read in court documents from the past, but you didn't think that any of that played any role in this particular case?
From the age of 18 to the chocolate milk incident, which I'll be happy to explain to you, there were no arrests for anything.
We're running into break right now, so hold that thought. We'll be right back in about 3 minutes here on Truth Brigade Radio. Top of the hour, Truth Brigade Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. We have just a few minutes in this segment here, Lane, so if you would just pick up where we left off.
Okay, you were talking about her criminal past. The thing is, are you aware that Shawna Forde, from the age 18 up to 40 or something like that, there were no arrests, there was no criminal activity?
Well, no arrest doesn't equal no criminal activity, and that, frankly, is irrelevant to me.
Okay, well, you said, didn't you think her criminal past had some bearing on whether or not she might be guilty? So,
Well, I do think it matters in the fact that the line records, the psychological records, and the fact that I don't think she's working alone. I don't think she was the mastermind of this plot. I do believe she's guilty, but is she really at fault? And that's what I think the background shows. But tonight we're specifically talking about the murders, the Arivaca murders, and that I guess your committee has evidence or something showing that she, in fact, is not guilty.
In court, all you have to do is have a reasonable doubt about the guilt of somebody. You don't have to prove that they're innocent or not guilty. If the burden of proof is on the prosecution to prove that they are guilty beyond the shadow of a reasonable doubt. I believe
okay, so,
Shawna Forde,
even if the crime happened, but a court can throw it out and say it didn't happen, that doesn't mean that they're innocent. It's, was O.J. guilty?
Okay. I think that O.J. was guilty, and I think the evidence against him was overwhelming, and I think the jury was tainted, and that's why he went free. But
look, if we're prefacing her innocence, though, on the fact that the court might not have enough evidence to say that she, wouldn't she have, I'm sorry, I was railroaded in the media. I was railroaded by law enforcement. Because
you know how it feels, don't you, Christie? You know how it feels.
But I was innocent. And as soon as that happened, I spoke up. I showed proof of every single thing I said, including the location, who I was with, videos, etc., etc. And where is that? If they didn't do it, where were they? What were they doing that day?
Well, there could have been a lot of other people in Arivaca at that time. Are you aware that there are 4 BLM agents who on that very night, on that same day, who said they were shot at by 4 men with rifles? And perhaps you're not aware of this, but the surviving victim of the Flores family said there were anywhere between 3 and 5 people coming into her house. Did you know that she can't identify any of the perpetrators positively?
Well, then that kind of sucks for Brisenia Flores and her mother that got to watch her daughter and husband get executed. I suppose, if we're looking at justice in the courts by supposedly not having enough evidence, that isn't justice to me. Because the fact is, people died, and I know that people in these groups have been on the border committing murders for at least 3 years that I personally know of. So,
where are the bodies, and why haven't we heard about
this stuff? And they're not working for the feds.
Show me the bodies. Where are the bodies, Christie? I haven't seen them.
It's the feds.
Where are the bodies?
Wow, perfect timing. We're going to take a short break here. We'll be right back. Lane Lawless, justiceforShawnaForde.com on TruthBrigade Radio.